Hey everybody, what's going on? Hellmite here, bringing you another video from Grab the Lantern today. It's Tuesday, and the patch notes for patch 8.13 have been posted, and that means it's time for another patch note rundown. As always, I'll be going through the biggest changes in this week's patch and letting you guys know what you could be looking forward to in the coming weeks. Now, 8.13 is a bit of a cleanup patch that's going to be fixing the leftover issues from the mid-season bonanza we had over the last couple of months. So, there aren't a lot of very large changes, but a lot of this is kind of designed at fixing the competitive outliers that are left over from previous patches, or just in general trying to fix some of the pain points of all of the mid-season patches. Now, Riot haven't said, oh, well, we hate everything that's happened in the mid-season patch, so we're just going to be changing it all. Instead, this is a lot more of tweaks to make everyone feel better now that we are in mid-season. First up, the Aatrox rework is in this patch. I am very, very excited and cannot wait to play my boy, the Darkened Blade, again. He's looking like he's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope that he is also a fair bit better than he was in his previous iteration. Moving on to champion changes. First up, dealing with the largest elephants in the room, Aurelia is getting nerfed in this patch. She's more bursty than Riot intended her to be. She was supposed to be more of a damage over time character, as she kind of was in her previous iteration, so Riot are converting her to be more about DPS and less about hitting every button and killing you instantly. Her passive's on-hit damage at maximum stacks has been reduced, but her stack ratio and attack speed for max stacks has been increased. So she'll feel better about being at max stacks due to the increased attack speed, and not necessarily just because it gives her a lot more upfront burst. Her W's base damage and ratio have both been decreased, both for maximum and minimum charges, so that won't deal as much damage. And the mark duration on her E and R have been reduced by 1 second, so now they're sitting at a 5-second duration as opposed to 6. Hopefully all this helps Aurelia feel a little bit easier to play around. She needs to hit that maximum stacks. She won't be having W as a reliable source of damage from afar anymore. Hopefully it's enough to help Aurelia feel a little bit better to play against, though I would expect her to have slightly more changes in the future. I don't think this will completely solve her problems. Kindred are getting some changes in this patch as well. They're getting buffed. They're a little weaker than intended, especially with the Scuttle Crab changes, so they're getting some quality of life love, especially with the W passive coming back. Now, if you weren't playing Kindred back when they were first released, they had a passive on their W where moving and attacking granted them stacks of Hunter's Vigor. When they were at 100 stacks, their next auto attack would heal them for a small amount. So this will help them feel a little bit more healthy in the jungle. And Wolf's attack speed now appropriately scales with items, so when you pop W, he will be able to do a little bit more damage in teamfights if you have attack speed focused builds. So hopefully this helps Kindred feel a little bit better in a post Scuttle Crab change world. Lucian is being slightly nerfed in this patch. Riot are basically leaning into him being a super strong early game marksman, but being weaker than others in the late game. So him being a premier marksman isn't necessarily a bad thing. They're just making sure he pays an appropriate cost for being Lucian in the late game. So his AD growth has been decreased quite substantially, so he won't be doing as much damage in the late game here. And then his R's damage amp against minions has been decreased by a substantial amount. It's been cut almost in half from 400% to 200%. So Lucian will have significantly less safe wave clear from a distance and won't be doing as much damage in the late game due to the AD growth decrease, but will still be just as strong in the early game, so you can still count on Lucian being able to dominate other players. Finally, for sort of larger changes, Pyke is being nerfed in this patch. Riot are trying to refocus him around aggressive builds rather than tanky ones, because most people have just been building him straight tank and finding some success with that, which is not really how Pyke is meant to be played, so that's where we are getting at there. His base health growth has been decreased, but his armor and MR growth has been increased to compensate. His E's base damage has been decreased, but the ratio has been increased. And the same story for his R. The base damage has been increased at earlier levels, decreased at later levels, and the ratio has also been increased to compensate. So Pyke will need more attack damage to have the same level of damage that he currently is benefiting from. And he also has slightly more base damage on R, so it should feel a lot better when you get that level 6 all in and be able to get the damage down from death from below. A few smaller changes for you guys. Jinx is getting buffed in this patch. Riot are tossing a few changes towards other crit marksmen as well, but I feel like the Jinx ones are the most relevant. Her rocket crit damage has been increased, and critical strikes now double her rocket launcher's 10% bonus damage. So if you get a Storm Razor crit on an enemy, it'll do 216% damage as opposed to 160 damage. So that's pretty substantial, and her W's ratio has been increased as well, so Jinx will feel pretty good, and I think she was already not very far out of the meta, so this should help bring her back into the limelight as well. Kassadin is getting buffed in this patch as well. He's been out of the meta for quite a long time, and this should help Kassadin feel a little bit better, especially with the tier changes. First off, his W now costs mana. It costs exactly 1 mana, which does mean that it can stack Tear the Goddess now, so he has one more ability to get that stacking up, and the ratio has been increased on it as well. Finally, his E and R ratio, AP ratio I should say, has been increased as well, so Kassadin will be hitting significantly harder in the late game when he's able to get those scaling builds going. Camille is getting nerfed in this patch. She's doing way too much damage without having to max her Q first. The current meta build for Camille is you max E first, and you still deal tons of damage while also having the utility of her E. So Riot are changing that. Her E's base damage has been decreased, so she won't be doing as much if she opts into this sort of more utility-focused build. Dr. Mundo is being nerfed, not much to talk about there. He's been a very strong top lane pick, so Riot are trying to bring him down a peg. His E's base damage has been decreased. Master Yi is getting nerfed. This is the nerf I was talking about in yesterday's podcast. Q no longer deals bonus damage to minions, but the mana cost has been decreased to compensate, so this should help him with his sort of funneling strategy and no longer allow that to happen. Ornn is being nerfed in this patch. He is currently the only tank that still sees play, and there's a big reason for that, because he has the best in ultimate initiation in the game, I would say, and on top of that, he has just very good lane sustain and damage. His base health regen has been decreased, and his W's flame width and length have been decreased as well, so it'll be harder to get enemies with the Bellows Breath, and he'll be feeling a little bit squishier in lane especially. Singed is being nerfed as well. He's finally come into the spotlight as a meta pick, but unfortunately, he's a little stronger than Riot really want him to be, so he's getting changed as well. His E's maximum health damage has been decreased, so he'll be doing less just by flinging you, and his R's granted stats have been decreased. There's also a bit of a funny bug fix where his R was counting as a potion for the purposes of Time Warp Tonic. It no longer does. That is not really a potion, so it shouldn't work that way. Taric is being nerfed this patch as well, the last of the champion changes I want to talk about. Dazzle is just granting him too much value regardless of how well he's doing. It's an amazing area of effect stun and does quite a bit of damage for all the advantages it has, so Riot are changing it. E's base damage has been decreased, but the armor scaling has been increased, so Taric that's ahead can still deal as much damage as he was before. And his R's cooldown has been increased by 20 seconds at every rank. This is just sort of other ultimates of this power level are at this kind of a cooldown, so we're reducing it to match these other ultimates. It's a soft nerf, but it is still a nerf and worth talking about. Finally, one item change this patch. Ginsu's Rage Blade is being nerfed. I think we all knew it's really, really strong and makes on-hit champions nigh unbeatable, especially once they get it stacked up. So it is being nerfed. The percent AP and AD per stack has been decreased from 4% to 2.5%. So it will deal significantly less damage when you get it to full stacks, as you're missing out on a ton of free AD and AP. So hopefully this helps bring hybrid damage dealers down a couple pegs like Kai'Sa and Varus. Finally, moving on to some systemic changes with snowball changes. First up, Riot wanted to increase early interaction over the last couple of patches, which is why we had some changes aimed at bringing a little bit of Snowball back, because it's not that bad in moderation. The problem with Snowball right now, though, is that it ends up being too good, and it just kind of determines the outcome of the game instead of just the tempo of the game, which is what they're aiming at. They want Snowballing to sort of determine, okay, Garen is strong, we need to deal with him, as opposed to, well, Garen got ahead, the game's over. So that's kind of where we're at right now. So, first up, death timers have been decreased at early ranks. So, up until level 8, you will respawn significantly faster than you would ordinarily, so you can look forward to dealing with that in the future. On top of that, 2-kill bounties are back, so if you kill 2 people, you now have a bounty on your head, and bounty gold has been increased across the board. So if you are able to shut down an enemy champion that's doing well, you're going to get a lot more gold back, and this should help curb a little bit of early snowball, because if you can kill the 8-0 Lee Sin, you're going to get a lot more gold back, and it'll help you recover from the 8-0 he's been inflicting on your team. Finally, outer turret global gold has been decreased. You now only get 50 global gold to other champions. The idea being that global gold, or the outer turret going down, should be a benefit for the champion that killed it as opposed to their entire team. So hopefully this helps games feel a little less like they're being decided right off the bat in the laning phase, and a little more like getting a lead is important, but not game breaking. So we'll see how that plans out. Anyways, that is going to be it for me today, guys. Go ahead and let me know which changes you're most excited for down in the comment section below. I'm personally very excited about the Aatrox rework, but let me know what you guys are looking forward to. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, and if you really enjoyed the video, consider subscribing. I upload a video every Monday, Friday, and on patch days like today as well. And if you're looking for more Grab the Lantern content, you can check out my blog, link down in the description. I upload an article just about each and every single day for your enjoyment. Once again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I do appreciate it. And I will talk to you all later.